Hello and welcome to Rockwell Automation Fair live stream from Chicago. My name is Shirayu Shah, and with me are Abby from Kepware and Michael from Zidata. Today we're going to talk about the evolution in industrial automation with edge to cloud technologies and the products and solutions that we are building. The conversation is going to free flow between us and give us comments on your live stream as you see the feedback. So we'll start with Michael. Isn't cloud enough? Why do we need edge? Why is edge important?
Yeah, that's a great question, Shirayu. And again, thanks for having me. Excited to be here today, and it's a great event. But I think you walk around the show floor here. Do you see any machines in the cloud? Right? Where are the machines? The machines are at the factory floor. They're producing data. Maybe that needs to go to the cloud, but compute needs to happen where the machinery, where the action is. And really, more and more, it's moving that direction. You might lose connectivity. What if you can't send the data to the cloud? What if there is air gap solutions? You can't connect at all. The machines need to run, the processes need to run, and you still need to keep improving those processes. So what Edge is doing is helping companies to deliver their workloads, deliver the applications at those machines and make decisions real time. You can't wait for the cloud to make a decision, right? You need to do it immediately.
Yeah, so really, clearly, latency, performance, there are a lot of issues why you need on-prem connectivity.
Exactly.
So Abby, how do you see the balance of collecting data and deploying applications at the edge?
Yeah, so one of the things, if we just back up, think about why we are getting data. So you sort of mentioned like the machine's nothing in the cloud, but really, like what insights are you looking for or what outcomes? Because there's going to be a lot of different demands. If we think about, I have an operator that's on a plant floor and needs immediate insights to like something that's happening in real time. Versus I'm at an enterprise level and I'm looking at performance maybe over several factors or a higher level where the data is going to be aggregated up to KPIs.
Yes.
And so that's really a maturity curve for a lot of these companies where data collection is happening today. And then as they go along a journey, it's visibility maybe at a higher level that is involving cloud. And then as we think about analytics, still like where is that data being consumed, what use case is it, and do we need it at a cloud level for enterprise access, or can it be down closer to the edge so we can keep the latency, compute, and everything else?
Yeah, so really it's about the use cases that drives
Yes.
the data collection.
Yes, right
Absolutely.
data, right time, right insights and outcomes.
Absolutely. So Michael, coming back to you, what does distributed management of edge give above and beyond the edge compute that exists today?
Yeah, another great question. So in the early days, you put a machine out there somewhere, you roll a truck, maybe you're lucky enough to be able to install some software on it remotely. Mm-hmm. Can you do that for tens of things? Maybe, right? We have customers today that are struggling with even 10.
Yes.
How do you update those? How do you manage those? How do you have visibility in the data and the dashboarding and everything needed to be successful? If you're going to deploy at the edge, you need those to be running possibly 5, 10 plus years, often in ruggedized environments. An oil field, middle of the desert, right? Somewhere in the tundra. You don't have easy access to be able to roll a person out there to fix things, and it costs a lot of money when you do. So you need to have a centralized way to manage everything that's distributed at the edge today. And that way you get the business value and you can focus on the applications and continuing to drive the use cases you've mentioned. The use cases drive value.
Yeah, absolutely. So really that fleet management aspect of edge management really is required now as you accelerate the pace of transformation. Makes perfect sense. So Michael, stay with you. Will the evolution of edge require everything to be containerized? We hear that's requirement now for modern software development now. How do you see that?
Amazingly enough, containerization, cloud native apps, running at the edge, it's important, right? Is it there today? Not really.
No.
There's a lot of Windows-based legacy applications or Linux-based applications. Where do you get value? You get value from leveraging what you have today and making it better.
Yeah.
If it takes 2 years to build a new application, what do you do in the meantime? You have to be able to deploy. So while you deploy containers, while you look at Kubernetes and cloud-native apps, you still have to be able to deploy the existing applications today. And deploying those as a virtual machine, being able to update those. But I think the key factor is having a roadmap to be able to move from, I have legacy apps, I'm trying some cloud native containers today, and I need to be able to migrate over time, again, going back to centralization of the orchestration, do that without sending a person there. Leverage the edge that's already there. Don't replace the edge.
Yeah.
Use what you have and keep building on it.
Yeah, yeah. So one last question for Abby. As the edge and data evolve, how important is interoperability between the edge and all the different solutions that are out there?
So important. No, for real,
Yes.
so important. I think everything we just mentioned, like, show me a company that has perfectly like the same homogeneous factories that, you know, all work exactly the same way. Like, I mean, you can't. Or if you can, then it's not that important.
Yeah.
But the reality is, like, we have a lot of equipment out there, a lot of plants are doing different things. You have to standardize at pretty much the lowest level you can. And, you know, I would say at a connectivity layer where you can start to abstract those things, but you want to think about making everything interoperable so you can bring a solution together that's right to hit the use case, to hit your business value, and just wrap it that way.
Absolutely. So
It's about the
heterogeneous
ecosystem.
environment.
It really is about an ecosystem. It's not a single company, single solution provides all. We have to work together, and interoperability is important.
Yeah, couldn't have said better. So thank you for my panel for participating today.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
the audience on the live stream. Give us a feedback as you see, and thanks for joining.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sharayu.
Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Otherwise, all right, welcome back. I have two more panelists with me to continue our conversation. I have Francois from Cognite, and I have Bijan from Rockwell Automation from our Advanced Technologies group. So we're going to continue our chat around edge data and analytics. Now we're going to transition into more of the analytics piece and data contextualization. So let's get right into it. Francois, I'm going to start with you. We've heard this term data ops. What does that really mean?
All right, we start strong, yeah? So, previous session talked about making data available, extracting data, making it available. Data ops is about making it meaningful,
Yeah.
making it trustworthy, making it agile, because you're going to have different people, different functions wanting to see the data in different contexts. So that's what data ops is enabling, right? The agility, the ability to trust the data, having meaning, but having meaning specifically for analytics, for applications, for domain experts. That's what we drive.
Yeah, so really it's connecting the domain experts with the data that they need to make informed decisions. Absolutely. So Bishan, I'm going to come to you. What kind of data is necessary for advanced analytics? When you talk about predictive maintenance, prescriptive maintenance, how do you see that play out in your work?
Well, I think data, obviously, a significant component of data comes from sensors.
Yeah.
These are time series data,
Yeah.
and for accurate analysis need to be time stamped properly. Increasingly, we have vision,
Yes.
and not only vision in isolation, but vision with timestamp, so that it can reflect the evolution of vision over time. All of that in the context of what we call label, contextual information about that may come from maintenance record, Excel files, or in many cases ad hoc labeling by domain experts.
Yeah, so it's really that structured, unstructured data. There is variety of data that's
Absolutely.
coming into this equation. Absolutely. So Francois, if data is already contextualized at the edge, why do we need to contextualize, or why do we need those tools in cloud? What are we doing in cloud then?
Well, that's a great point. Well, Bijan just made a fantastic point on vision about the fact that you will need to bring in also Excels and additional context in order to run models. You'll find the same thing is true for most of the applications. If I'm a maintenance expert, I will want to know the work orders that have been there. If I'm a process engineer, I may want to have the lab samples that belong to the data. And by the way, if I'm in charge of the whole operation, I will want to see not just that data, but data in context from multiple plants, multiple lines. And I will want to know about all of these data that the various experts are looking at in the context for me running an operation versus running a maintenance schedule or running a quality program. So the contextualization that happens at the edge is extremely important, but I will want to enrich that with information about more lines, but also about more data that is floating around in the industry. And ultimately, that's what it is. The data at the edge and the lineage it provides is extremely important, but the context that it has to be much broader ultimately to be able to use it.
Yeah, so you mentioned lineage. I want to tap into that. Can you elaborate a little bit about what does that mean?
The notion of lineage is interesting. So, well, initially the lineage is about trust. I know where the data comes from. Again, the data has to have meaning. So I'm going to combine multiple data in my meaning as a mechanical engineer or as a maintenance engineer or process engineer. I will have different ways to represent the data, but I also need to know that I can trust it.
Yes.
And I can trust it means that I know where it comes from, why it's been issued, and what was around it when it was issued. And there you can see that the lineage comes from, of course, all data sources. But the edge, and that's where the partnership is very interesting if you think about it, because the edge is providing context and lineage that usually is hidden from most of the application on the enterprise level. So I'm actually very excited about the ability for us to drive lineage and drive lineage much lower than what has been done before.
Yeah, that's an important point because the power of partnerships where companies like Rockwell and Cognite can bring level of detail back down to a device, back to a subnet where the data is really originating, and then bringing that back into cloud and showing that entire workflow. Really, really important. So Bishan, I was going to come back to you. How does data sequencing and accuracy of timestamps and quality impact when you're driving data models?
In many of the significant applications, causality of relationships is key. And missing proper timestamp can completely throw off the ability to detect causal relationships. The other aspect is that many of the information that complement the data are not available in real time. For example, a label that an expert provides to an event, that may come sometime in the future. So if we don't have proper timestamp, then we will not be able to properly associate them together. So it's a critical part of any proper data analysis to have proper timestamps for the data.
It's really not only just the quality, but the sequencing of events,
Absolutely.
because the timestamps comes from data
Absolutely.
where it's originating.
Absolutely.
So now as a data scientist, I'm much more productive
Absolutely.
as I look at that data and apply that to
Absolutely.
the models that I'm
Absolutely.
applying. Well, I want to thank you both for joining us today, and I want to thank our audience for joining us. As you can see, the power of ecosystem here at Rockwell Automation and our partners who are bringing edge management, gateway solutions, data contextualization, data ops, and then AI services, all of that to really accelerate pace for our clients and on their digital transformation journey. We have lots of live demos and things to show on the show floor. Please join us and check us out online as well. And again, thanks for joining and provide us feedback through live stream as well. Thank you.